Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Cinematically Late, the series where I talk about movies where I may have missed for whatever reason or have seen but just haven't gotten a chance to talk about. And today I have a very special guest with me today by the name of Joe. He is with Pop Culture Geekery. He's a fellow YouTuber. He's a pretty good friend of mine. I've recommended him on a couple of videos, but I did want to bring him in because he actually started his channel just after this movie was released, if I'm not wrong. So he didn't get a chance to review it either. So I figured why not just take the opportunity and let's talk about it together. And if you can't tell by the background or the title of this video, we're talking about Glass from 2019, which was M. Night Shyamalan's third movie in his trilogy about superheroes and supervillains, a little bit more realistic or M. Night Shyamalan twist to it, if you will. So let's go ahead and bring Joe in. Joe, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. So you're telling me I missed the Reign of Fire cinematically late? Dang it.
Yes, unfortunately. It's last week's, though. You can check it out. It's now available on the channel.
I did watch it.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
So I got to know, though, is that as far as years from when the movie released to when you did it, is that the longest so far in your cinematically late series? Because that's, what is that, 18 years?
Yeah, actually, it's true. That is the oldest movie. And you know, it's kind of funny that you referenced that because when I was editing that video, the trailer, the only option for it went only up to 440p in terms of quality. So I didn't really get a good quality video for my B-roll showing the movie, even though it was only from 2002. So that was a bit of a challenge to work with that.
You're like, what is this ancient text
Exactly.
I have to decode?
I was just hoping somebody would be able to see what I was trying to show them.
Yeah, I could see it just fine.
Okay, good. All right, so you recently, like I said, you have a YouTube channel also, Pop Culture Geekery, awesome channel. If you guys haven't checked it out, I highly recommend it. Do you want to give us a little bit more about your channel before we get started?
Sure, yeah, and I appreciate you, jumping on and helping promote so much. When you added our Umbrella Academy video into yours, I was like super flattered. Like that was really awesome, and I appreciate that. So we just let's see. I always got to remember it's the Geeky 7 that I cover. It's movies, conventions, TV, animation, toys, tabletop, and comics. And so it kind of stemmed from me and my wife used to own a comic and game shop here in our town.
Oh, cool.
And then we ended up having to sell it. And a year after, I just felt the itch to do something geeky still and started researching on how to do YouTube. And here we are. So a year and a half later.
It's a great place to be. I've actually met a ton of fellow nerds just from being on YouTube. I've been a lifelong nerd myself, so nothing really new there. I didn't know you actually had a shop. That was pretty cool. Sorry that you lost it, but glad to have you here geeking out and nerding out with me.
Oh yeah, no, it was definitely a great experience. So, and this probably would never happen had that not happened. So it kind of all built upon itself. So it's cool.
Great. Well, good to know. I'll leave the link to your channel down below in the description for everybody to check out. I'll probably also put some cool little visuals in here once I get to editing. But let's go ahead and talk about Glass. So this one, like I said, just came out in 2019. It's more of a recent one. But I didn't actually see this in theaters. I don't think I actually saw any of this trilogy in theaters. I just waited till it came out. It wasn't until Split really got some buzz about it that I was even really that interested in it. Did you have like a connection with this movie or the series in general?
Oh yeah, I mean, speaking of, I think it was 2002. I think that's gonna be let's see. Oh no, 2000. Wow, that's even further back than I thought. That's when Unbreakable came out,
Right.
which I actually saw in the theaters, so which kind of shows my age. But but yeah, I mean, I loved Unbreakable. I'm kind of the same with most people, like with M. Night movies. Some of them are great, some of them are not so great, but I still go watch them anyway.
Sure.
So I'll never forget when me and my wife went to go watch Split because we heard such good things about it. And it gets to the end, and it's like, you see Bruce Willis's character. I'm like, oh my god, like that's the best thing, M. Night, that you've done in years. Like,
Right.
like not only did you just take me through an awesome movie, but you put your famous twist, and it was a good one. So I was really hyped for Glass at that point. because I was like, okay, so he's got a nice little trilogy planned here that spans 20 years almost. So
Yeah. Do you feel like Glass lived up to the hype? Because I know Unbreakable was really popular, or at least it sort of had a bit more of a cult following. Based off of what happened from Unbreakable, it was had sort of a cult following. Split, I feel like it really got that buzz going early that it was a good movie, and I didn't really know anything much about it until I actually heard like the reviews and like this big twist type of thing at the end. So I didn't even know it was even going to be connected to the Unbreakable movie at all. For Glass, I was going to ask you, were you excited for Glass? Was it something that you really wanted to have more of in terms of like Elijah's story? Because I feel like they kind of gave the most of it from Unbreakable.
yeah, and maybe that's the thing with Glass, like, because when I rewatched it last night, it was the first time I've seen it since the theater.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I think that's probably the only thing that I really would have wanted more of in Glass is to focus on him.
Yeah,
Um, because yeah, we did get a good dichotomy between Bruce Willis and Samuel Jackson in Unbreakable. Once it was done, I never thought there would be more. I thought it wrapped up pretty well. He went to jail, and it was like everything was good. And then he introduced this idea of the beast in Split, and so of course, the natural progression would do the last movie about Glass. And there's a lot of good ideas in there, and a lot of ideas that kind of build on the world and kind of where he was going. But yeah, when I rewatched it last night, I found myself kind of not paying attention. Like I remembered enough about it,
sure.
what I guess is good in that respect. Because I almost felt like I didn't have to rewatch it. I did remember a great deal of it. There was only a few little details here and there. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that now. But other than that, I retained the movie pretty well. I felt when I was rewatching it last night.
That's good. When you rewatched it, did you feel like it? Obviously, there's another M Night Shyamalan sort of like twist in this one. I don't feel like it was as impactful as the other twists were. What were your feelings on that?
I mean, I think once he set it up and Split, it was unfortunately one of those, like, the hype was so high
Hmm.
that it was almost impossible to match it, I think. And again, because he had so many different ideas that he was putting in, it just it was almost doomed from the beginning, because it has a great opening. Like
Hmm.
forgot how intense that opening battle between Bruce Willis and James McAvoy, who James McAvoy still steals the show. I think that's another
Yeah,
issue, is that this is supposed to be a movie about Glass, but it's like anytime James is on the screen, it's just like you're just focusing on him. It doesn't matter
yeah,
who else is
absolutely.
in the scene. Um, so it's one of those where I think he created such a great character in the Beast that it was just like, it's hard to pull focus away from him unless he's not actually on the screen.
Yeah, no, I think I definitely have to agree with that. I think that calling it Glass, it didn't really felt like it focused on Elijah really at all. There was a good majority of the movie where I felt like he was very much in the background, almost to the point where I forgot about his character unless he was on screen or they mentioned him. I didn't even remember he was part of it.
Yeah, and I did forget his whole plan for the most part, which is kind of sad, because when they were talking about, oh, they're unveiling that tall tower and all this, and originally I was like, oh, that's gonna be where the final battle is, because that's
Sure.
the one thing that I found pretty interesting between Samuel Jackson and the actress who plays his mom, is that she has, or he has, her condition to know what comes next
Hmm.
as far as comic book lore and like the structure of stories, and she's like, isn't this the showdown, and it's like, not yet, mama, and so that was, I liked that, I mean, talk about the love of a mother. I mean,
Hmm.
she knows what he's done at this point, and she's been literally taking care of him her whole life, and she's still right there in his corner no matter what. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and I felt like, speaking of that sort of big showdown, that I felt like they kept hyping it up to the point where I was really amped up for it. I'm like, okay, this is going to be like the big show, the moment where we're going to get to see like the powers on full display. and they kind of pulled that out from under us, and they essentially just had a smaller fight, I guess, outside in the courtyard type of thing of the lack of a better word, asylum. I don't even know if that was what they called it. Do you feel like that was kind of just meant to be a misdirect? Do you feel like it was something you just were kind of disappointed that they didn't go all out?
Yeah, I mean, I think Sarah Paulson's character, who plays the doctor, that's
Mm-hmm.
like examining all of them, and then it's revealed. Obviously, spoiler alert, but we're going to talk spoilers a year and a half later. Um, that she's part of that like shadow organization.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they get a name, but they all have the clover leaves on their tattoos on their wrist.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like if he was going to do that, he probably should have had that planned out since Unbreakable, and
Mm-hmm.
one of those to where I would have really given him kudos if I could go back to Unbreakable and see hints of that, because then I would
Sure.
have been like, wow, you really had some forethought. But other than that, it just felt like that secret organization was kind of thrown in here, and
Yeah.
it was kind of a little too late, because it's like, wait, this is supposed to be about Glass. Like, I can kind of see how their part, like how he was trying to get them to play their part. um and I think she makes the comment, she's like, oh, it was never meant to be the towers, like the showdown was here, or something to that effect, that she apparently realized it,
Yeah.
and that it was never going to be that way. So, and that's the thing too, is like, obviously, they portray Elijah as this, his superpower is his basically super intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like you kind of want something that you as an audience member can't figure out easily,
Mm-hmm.
because you're like, that's supposed to be his power, he's supposed to be like super intelligent, so he's supposed to come up with this plan that I can't even figure out until it's too late. So, and that's what's hard about a character like that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that character, I felt like it had so much potential. I feel like overall, I agree with you that the James McAvoy character was the best of all three. Bruce Willis, I think, really we got.
Oh, okay, well, it's obvious that we upset that shadowy organization because they messed up our recording now, so
Yeah, the shadowy organization that was sort of shoehorned in didn't really. They heard
they
about the
got they
situation,
got
they jumped on it.
upset. I'm like trying to scroll through here to see if they even have a name. I don't even think they do.
I
And
don't
if they do,
remember
I
them
can't remember.
ever calling them anything. I mean, when there was that scene in the restaurant, I felt like that was kind of a big reveal moment that,
Hmm.
obviously this organization even exists and is obviously a lot larger than we even thought. Um, but I didn't really feel like that organization really had anything. I felt like they had enough with these three characters sort of being locked up in the same place and just being interesting enough by themselves. Do you think that they could really work maybe together and also at the same time against each other for whatever reason into that leading up to that big battle, which never kind of happened in my opinion. But I felt like for the most part that whole organization aspect was really pointless.
Yeah, I kind of wish they just left it to the three characters. It's almost like a Spider-Man 3 thing where it's like there's too many villains. So, but
Yeah. Uh, what I was going to say before about I don't know if this cut off about when I was talking about James McAvoy was the most interesting character. Um, I he has such a great that full development in like showing his different personalities in Split that I feel like we got to see some of that again, but obviously not to the same effect because he was sharing the screen with a couple of different people. Um, what do you think would have made the movie better overall? Do you think that we should have just mainly focused on Elijah? Do you think it was just a mistake to bring in all three characters at the same time? Was it just poor writing in terms of an overall arc involving all three?
yeah, I think like we just said, it probably would have helped. I mean, I do think that organization, was interesting. I did like Sarah Paulson's character, like she
Mm-hmm.
did serve a purpose.
Sure.
But it almost felt like maybe we should have done one more movie then. Like if we were gonna introduce them. But of course, I know everybody likes a nice little trilogy, um, and then yeah, maybe just focus more through Elijah's perspective, because that's the thing. Like when he's first introduced in the story, he's not comatose, but I mean he's being sedated and all that. So
Mhm.
so it's like we don't really get to experience it. Like I remember when I was rewatching it, and they cut to a flashback of him as a kid at the amusement park.
Mhm.
Like it had my full attention again. I'm like, oh, like I know he's gonna get hurt, and this is horrible, but it's like a train wreck. You're like, yeah, I remember those from Unbreakable. It's
Yeah.
like so. Those were the kind of things that I was like, yeah, I just want to focus on him and find out some more. But yeah, it's kind of like you said, it was hard because we did get a lot of information from both him and Bruce Willis' character in Unbreakable. So it was almost like what's left other than whatever his master plan is in this one.
Yeah. And I felt like with that character, when we were given some information about him, like I feel like M Night Shyamalan still has his own tendencies where like he's really good at like certain scenes and things like that. Like he really built the tension, like you said, in that scene with him at the amusement park. I felt a lot of tension as well in the scene where he's continuously getting out of his room, and like there's like that guard that keeps like having to come back and put him in the room. I felt like there was a lot of tension in that scene, so I don't think it's a lack there in his directing. Maybe it's just his writing that didn't go because he didn't think about the full arc because he didn't have it planned at the time. That he really started making some of those mistakes in terms of just not really making a cohesive three-story arc. Although individually, you probably could have had the pieces be just fine on their own.
Yeah, and I mean overall, I mean I still enjoyed these movies. I mean I have my favorites, of course.
Mhm.
I remember I went because we watched Split. My wife had never seen Unbreakable. We went back and watched Unbreakable, and I mean, she liked it, but she recognized the kind of slow burn, and
Yeah,
that's not her thing, And I'm like, well, that's M Night's thing. So,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, the slow burn is definitely his thing. And then another thing I wanted to ask you, that kind of surprised me was that they were able to bring back the kid that played his son, which I actually looked up to make sure that that was the same kid because I was kind of confused if that was the right one because it had been years since I saw Unbreakable. How did you feel about his performance as an adult versus as a kid? Did you see anything um, there that you liked, or was his character not necessarily forgettable, but could we have done without it?
no, I actually liked his character. I liked how at the beginning, he's basically kind of like almost like his dad's, Robin to his dad's Batman, kind of thing going on. He's already accepted, yes, this is what my dad does, so I'm going to try to help them the best I can. They kind of had their own little quote unquote bat cave going on there, where they monitor the police. So yeah, I mean, there's stuff about this movie that's like that I do appreciate because I'm like, man, track down an actor that's not a major actor,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to come back and complete this. And I mean, it's like I said, it's a trilogy now that you can watch and enjoy, and you can judge for yourself now at this point. Does it work better as a whole? Yeah, that's the only thing I would probably go back and do now at this point is I would try to watch them all together and see, does it flow better as almost kind of like one giant movie, basically? Because it definitely is still like everything matches as far as the way it looks. Like the scene where they reveal that, which was a little bit too convenient, but I mean I get it. Where the Beast's father was also on the train that
Yes.
derailed in
Mm-hmm.
Unbreakable, and I was like, okay, but then they kind of pan over and then they use the old footage of Bruce Willis from Unbreakable, so they kind of seamlessly, weave it together. So there is a lot to appreciate about these movies and about what he did. Even though they're not perfect and they definitely have their problems, I have to. I think this is the reason I keep coming back to M Night movies, no matter what whether he succeeds in them or doesn't.
Sure.
It's kind of like the same thing, that people give George Lucas a hard time about the prequels, and I know I did too. But the thing I can't deny is that was his vision,
Yeah.
and the same thing here. This was his vision. He got it out there, so I got to give him kudos for that. And a lot of the consistencies, like actor coming back to play his son.
Mhm.
I got to give him kudos for that, you know. So that's why, yeah, I don't like to bash M Night, but you know, I'm gonna be honest of his movies if I enjoy it or not, or somewhat, or you know. So
No, he definitely has plenty of enjoyable ones in there.
mhm.
Do you feel like with this movie coming out in 2019, Split, I don't remember what year that came out, I want to say like 2016, 17?
Yeah, there were. Yeah, it was 2016,
2016.
so well, 3 years apart.
Okay. And then obviously with Unbreakable, and I think you said it was 2000.
Hmm.
Do you feel that the way that we see superheroes now, and even back in 2000, because I think the first X-Men movie came out in 2000, and I think right around that same time, Spider-Man 2001-ish. Do you feel like with the massive surge of superheroes, that how we see them at least 5, 6 times a year in various franchises, do you think that that kind of affected the way we see this, or but because M Night does his own thing with his own characters, you kind of have that disconnect and don't really think about them as superheroes and having this epic battle, kind of like we anticipated, or at least he kind of teased us to see.
Yeah, I mean, this trilogy, you know, probably would have been looked at differently had he done it like 2000, then 2003, 2006, you know, or something like that. Obviously, you wouldn't have the deal with the kid, you know, being grown up, but all these actors were available.
Mhm.
You know, obviously they would have been a little bit younger, because you know the whole thing with his son is that it that much time has passed in this world. So
Yeah,
so he did go along with that. I mean, when you think about it, Bruce Willis's, you know, character operated for a long time without any intervention, which again, with that Shadow Society, you know, did they really take that long to catch him? So, but yeah, I think it would have been looked at different. Like, I mean, he obviously had some success with Unbreakable, but I know he had other movies he wanted to do. But had he just done this trilogy back then with the way the superhero movies were, maybe it would have been looked at as a little bit ahead of its time. Sometimes that hurts movies though, because
yeah.
people look back in retrospect and like, man, if this would have come out now, you know. But this one, it might be the opposite. Maybe it came out way too late. So
Do you feel like by coming out in more or less the superhero time that it hurt because we kind of had already, I mean, once we saw Split and had that sort of thing at the end with Bruce Willis's character, and you knew, oh my God, that's David Dunn from Unbreakable, and you go back and watch it and kind of remember how great of a superhero story that was, even though he's not technically a superhero, but has abilities and things like that. By coming out now, where all three are kind of mixed together with his own supernatural powers and it escapes me the character from Split. What's his name
the
again?
Beast,
The
the
Beast.
Beast. Hmm.
The Beast sort of having that over the top abilities that we saw in 2016. Do you think that in our minds we just sort of overhyped what could have been from this movie, and M Night Shyamalan maybe underdelivered on that?
No, the hype was definitely real because I mean it's one of those, like, Split was so good, and then it ends on that note, and so yeah, it was just one of those. It was like, man, it's gonna be hard for him to match this, you know, because this is kind of like his own little mini in game, you know. So,
Yeah, that's for sure. It definitely,
mhm.
I can see the parallels with that.
But you know, like I said, I mean, it did really well. I was just looking here, like, I don't remember if he financed it himself. He might have, because it
I
cost
think
like
if I remember correctly, he maybe started something by himself. I think I remember reading something about that. That he had started some type of campaign or funded at least somewhat out of his pocket to get it back up and going again. Because I think it was kind of up and down for a little while.
Yeah, because it says here the budget was 20 million, but the box office was 247. So I mean, it definitely was a financial success. So hopefully he can at least, you know, rest in that.
I got to give him credit. He does have the ability to make the most out of his small budgets, but if you give him too much money, like with an Avatar or Last Airbender, rather, not really Avatar, but kind of goes the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Did you have any other thoughts about this one? Like, if you had to rank it amongst the other three, where would you put it?
I mean, it's definitely the weakest one, and it's hard to pick between Split and Unbreakable because I think that's part of the strength of those movies. Even knowing what we know now about all three of them, Split is not like Unbreakable is, his kind of version of a superhero story.
Mhm.
Split was not. Even after you know what you know, you're like, no, that's still like it's like almost like a supernatural serial killer movie,
Yeah.
you know. And and maybe that's what should have happened with this is that it should have been something else. Maybe that would have strengthened it, but it's oh man, it's hard to because I really really do like Unbreakable. It's hard to put Split above it. I feel like maybe as a movie, maybe Split's just a little bit better, but it's just hard because I really do like Unbreakable.
I'm not going to hold you to any particular ranking. You have the right to change your mind. If I had to choose, I would agree with you. I think this is definitely the weakest of the three. In terms of story, personally, I feel like Unbreakable's more interesting in terms of like the journey he kind of goes on. But I think Split has the better acting because James McAvoy, when he changes personalities, it's honestly kind of like nothing I've ever really seen before. With anybody being able to switch those roles and make it seem so effortless and seamless. I think that was probably one of the best things about that movie, other than obviously his other acting and things like that. But he was definitely a big draw for that one. But if I had to rank them, I think I might put Unbreakable just a little bit
Yeah, no, it's hard, like I said,
higher.
because I really do like Unbreakable.
Okay, no problem. Um, yeah, I think that's about all I have on Glass. Did you have any other things you wanted to touch upon?
Nope. Um, just curious to see what M Night's gonna have next. I haven't even looked up, haven't heard anything. So.
I don't know. Last I heard did this come out before or after the one about going to grandma's house? I don't remember what that was called.
Oh, I think that was before this one because that one was also really good. Where is it? Where is it? I think it's just simply called The Visit. Yep. Yeah. Oh, it actually came out before Split.
Oh, it did. Okay, I
Yeah,
thought it
The
was more
Visit.
recent for
Yeah.
some reason.
Yeah, and then he's got something that's untitled coming out in 2021. It says here, which pretty pretty accurate with him. Hold his cards close to his chest as long as possible.
That's true. Very true. But yeah, that's pretty much all of my thoughts on Glass. Thank you so much to Joe again for coming by. I really appreciate you taking the time. Did you have anything you wanted to plug before we wrapped up the episode?
So we're almost at episode 100. I think we've got like 3 or 4 episodes left. By the time we get there, we'll be moving into our new house, so I'll have a new studio. So yay! So y'all will get to see that. So yeah. As of today, we're 1 subscriber away from 300. So
Nice.
which one of y'all wants to be it? Who wants to be it? You right there, 300. Come on.
It can't be
So.
me because I'm already subscribed. I'm already a big fan, so it can't be me, unfortunately. I'll make a second account just so I can do
There you
that 300. I'm just kidding. But thank you so much for coming on the show. I really do like your channel. If you guys want to check out some other awesome geeky, nerdy stuff, if you're a fan of Umbrella Academy, he also has a pretty epic series talking about Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, which I believe you did with your friend Roy, if I'm not incorrect, is his name. I was just actually listening to it before we were recording because I actually also did a review for it back when it came out. So I love you guys' stuff. I really look forward to once you finish your move, your new setup and how everything looks, and really look forward to some more content from you guys. But thank you again so much for stopping by the show. I really appreciate it.
Of course, anytime.
All right, guys. So that was a lot of fun to shoot that episode with Joe. Again, thank you so much for him for coming by. Thank you so much for stopping by this episode of Cinematically Late. If you did like Class, if you have seen it, let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section down below. I would love to hear more from you. Also, make sure you hit that subscribe button, as I do have new Cinematically Late every single Thursday, as well as I do a live every single Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Come by, talk nerdy with me with whatever it is that we're talking about. Subject changes week to week. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to see you in the next one.